G'day, it's Sam from The Driven, and behind me is the BYD Atto 1. It's the highly anticipated hatchback from BYD, which is set to break pricing records in Australia for a full electric vehicle, $23,990 before on-roads for the base variant. This is the premium variant, which is starting at $27,990 before on-roads. We've just picked it up for a quick test drive. We're going to go for a little trip around the block and see what our first impressions are. So here we go. First impressions of the car, we're driving the premium variant, so that starts a little bit higher at $27,990 before on-roads. So in New South Wales, that's probably going to be about $31,500 by the time you drive away. It's a basic setup in the cabin, for sure. You've got a smaller screen, you've got a pretty tiny cluster in front of you. You've got some digital and physical buttons, which I'm always a big fan of, and these don't feel too cheap. One of the issues I had with the Hyundai Insta, for example, was the buttons were very, very cheap feeling and plasticky, and this one just feels a little bit more weight towards it and a little bit nicer to touch. In this car, in the premium variant, you've got Qi charging, something you don't have in the standard variant, and you've also got wireless Apple CarPlay, which is great because we didn't have that in the Insta either, so I am a big fan of having that feature in this vehicle. The actual feeling of the interior is not so bad. It doesn't feel as cheap and plasticky as I would have thought. It's got some nice cushiony feelings around the driver door, and the steering wheel feels pretty firm. First impression of driving it is that it drives just like an electric vehicle, really. I'm trying to actually find how to turn up the regen braking because that's not something I'm finding very easy to find first time driving the car.
School zone ahead.
That's the car telling me there's a school zone ahead. Oh, there's no school today, so I will ignore that. Handling is pretty, it's light. It's it's quite, I guess it's what you'd expect, really, from a car. I'm trying to keep in mind that this is literally $15,000 at least cheaper than the Hyundai Insta, and it's a similar type vehicle. So, what are we getting for the savings, and is it worth the 15 grand less? And I'm trying to make these calculations in my mind. So far, I'm not minding this. I'm 6'5", so that's on the taller side, and I don't feel like I'm being squashed. So there's definitely enough room in the driver's front cabin. You're not getting a huge amount of storage, I'd say. This midsection here doesn't open up, but you are getting a little bit of storage underneath. But it's a bit difficult to reach and to see. So I'm not a huge fan, first impressions, of the storage available in the cabin. But then again, look, this is a small hatchback, and usually storage options are pretty limited anyway, so probably can't complain too much. Lighting is a little bit dim, so we've got two lights up here, which aren't particularly bright. Maybe there's a way you can turn them up, but I haven't figured that out in the 15 minutes I've been in the car. And there's no lights at the top in the center of the vehicle either, so if you're trying to get things out of the car at night, kids or shopping, you might have a bit of trouble seeing, to be honest. Now, in terms of range, we've got 310 kilometers in the premium variant, which is what we're currently in, which is okay. For the base model, though, 220 kilometers, which is, I guess, significantly less than this version, and maybe that alone would be a reason to go for the premium model for the extra few $1,000s. 220 would be fine if you're just driving around the city, which I think will be the main purpose of this vehicle in any case. But if you're looking to do some of those longer trips, you probably would benefit from that extra range. And there we have some first impressions of the BYD Atto 1, the first of what I think will be many hatchbacks entering the Australian electric vehicle market in 2026. Best thing about this car definitely is the price. It doesn't have the glitz and glamour of some of the other EVs, but remember, this is a $23,990 before on-roads electric vehicle, $27,990 for this premium variant, and that just represents really great value that we've not really seen before in the Australian market for an electric vehicle. So very much exciting times.